everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm excited to be joined by my friend and business partner, Mr. Michael Vincent, Mr. Podcaster Extraordinaire. I'm sure you've seen his coverage over the years. And we work together on fuel and emissions reduction with net savings, and we work on plastics waste reduction with cost savings.
Yeah.
And basically greener initiatives with cost savings and monetary gains. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. We absolutely do, man. It's exciting work. I'm happy to be here. And I am the podcaster extraordinaire.
That's right.
As you say it. You say it every week.
I'm just telling the truth, right? I've podcasted with you quite a few times over the years. And then you and I started podcasting on these Sustainiacs episodes a little while back. And it's been a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Oh, I love it. I mean, you put a microphone in front of your face and suddenly you're an expert. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I'll talk about something, a new type of, like the octopus molecule that they have out now that is, and you see the headlines in their clickbait. Octopus molecule is the solution to nuclear waste is basically what it says, right?
Oh, yeah.
And basically all it is this octopus molecule they use to put on the nuclear waste that then prevents the nuclear waste from eating through the typical paint and metal canister so that it'll be housed longer. It's not a solution to anything other than it prevents it from leaking into the environment a little bit, slower than it normally would. No solution at all. But I'll post something like that, and then somebody will ask me all these technical terms, and then I have to come clean and say, "Listen, I'm not a nuclear scientist nor a chemist.
Right.
I'm merely reporting the facts here and talking about things that are interesting." But you're a bit of a fuel expert, I think.
Well, I've been at it for about 6 years or so now with the
That's pretty good.
Green fuel technology, fuel reduction, emissions reduction. And, it's funny because I meet with people, right?
Yeah.
And they'll come up with a question every so often that I don't know. I mean, now in the early days, it was, oh, let me find out. Oh, let me find out. Now it's like, well, I've been there, done that. But there's still questions here and there that it's like, well, I'm going to have to do a little bit more digging and research. We have a chemical engineer and an electrical mechanical engineer on the team that I have to go and reference fairly, well, not as often as I used to, but fairly frequently, Yeah,
I mean, people have questions and you want to seek out those answers, and that's fine. I hate it when I ask somebody a question I could clearly tell they're BSing or they're, just say, listen, I don't know, I'll get it for you.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what I expect from people who are trying to, sell me some or service my account or helping me in some way. Just admit, I don't know. And tell me. When I was building my house, it'll be ready in 2 weeks. Listen, just tell me.
Right. That's the worst, when you try and BS your way through something and, basically you never want to do that. You say, I don't know exactly on that, but I will get back with you, and then get back with them.
Excellent, right? We were talking to a fleet about doing a test on with cyber fuels, right? And he asked, how much of these net savings are, the ancillary beyond just the fuel? Are you counting, downtime and maintenance time and all this other kind of stuff, right? Totally went through all that answers, no BS, no pussyfooting around, none of that kind of stuff, and said, hey, this is what it is. Turns out, I don't know, what roughly 90% of the savings are direct out of the sale or the actual consumption of fuel reduction is that. It's not counted, oh, well, you should average, an hour here or 2 hours there, or anything like that. That's not it, right?
Right.
And I love that.
Right. Type of stuff. Yep. We're averaging 10 to 20% net savings on the fuel itself. Yeah. And that when you do a project, of course, there's improved uptime, less repairs, but it's just a minute, honestly, fraction. And we zeroed those out, honestly, and just said, look at the fuel. It's 90+% of the savings that you're going to get on rolling out a technology that has multiple benefits for the environment and for the engines as well. It burns cleaner. It burns more completely. It lubricates the engine. It removes carbon. And it's, less emissions at the combustion engine, obviously, is going to have knock-on effects in the after treatment, right? Less emissions off the engine it's going to mean less DPF filters and less downtime and so forth. But that's just a small fraction.
No, yeah, all those other savings are there, but it is certainly not the bulk. It's a fraction, like you said. It's a small fraction of the actual savings that are there. That is not what you're counting on to save people money. It is actual fuel consumption. The rest of that's there. It's just, if you want to call it icing on the cake, or I prefer gravy on my mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, it's there. You know what else burns relatively completely?
What's that?
An EV once it catches on fire.
Absolutely. That's our big topic for today is Nikola actually announced a recall of over 200 trucks. And we're also going to be talking about the problem with lithium-ion battery fires, as quoted by a captain of a fire department. So, I found this article on Reuters that, I get news feeds and so forth. And it's talking about Nikola. And apparently they've recalled, as of August 11th, a total of 209 battery-powered electric trucks.
And I believe that's their entire battery electric-powered trucks. Was it's a whole fleet, right?
They recalled all of them.
Yeah,
all of them.
100%, 100%.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know if you saw in the news.
I did.
In Phoenix, they had one of the trucks caught fire in the parking lot and caused multiple other Nikola trucks adjacent to catch fire, and it was a major ordeal. And they burned and burned.
And it is, and you and I aren't like clickbait type of people, right? We're not going to throw out something out there and make it bigger than it is. We're talking about interesting things, and there's a lot of interesting problems, hurdles, developments, new technology as we move forward towards cleaner and cleaner energy. This happens to be one of them. There's people out there that think that EVs are spontaneously combusting all over the place. right. I remember a headline that involved Phoenix that said that an electric vehicle killed a pedestrian, which isn't true. EVs aren't seeking out pedestrians and killing them. Grammatically, that is not even close to anything remotely similar to what actually happened. There was an accident involving one and the person did die, but the EV was not charged with murder or anything like that. It did not kill anybody. And by the same token, EVs aren't spontaneously combusting over around here, but it is an issue that's there. And the issue, and speaking to fire officials and reading about what fire officials say, that's the problem. Once they catch, it can be violent, fast, and spreads like crazy and pose a lot of danger. Right. And you can't put it out with traditional means. Right. We've all heard it. Electrical fires. You just can't grab any old extinguisher and start throwing stuff on it. Right.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So this is situation in Phoenix from Fox 10 News. And it happened in June, late June.
Yeah.
Several electric semi trucks caught fire in an industrial area near 4th Street and Broadway on a Friday morning, triggering a large response from hazmat crews in Phoenix and Tempe. Quoting the article, "I just heard an explosion and I came out, the semis were all on fire," said John Frank. And then it was really a battle of getting these fires out because they just reignite and reignite. So basically, there was a captain of the fire department that explained this. They've been spraying water over the battery fire, but if they stop, they say the flames will reignite. And quoting, "So these cells that are packed in these batteries, they contain a lot of energy in a small amount of space. So extinguishing these are very difficult," said Captain Todd Keller with Phoenix Fire. "What we're doing right now is that we're cooling these trucks down and preventing extension."
Wow.
So
it sounds almost like you have to submerge it and then just leave it there, right? You can't
right. You just have to keep on keeping on and a long time because if you don't, they just reignite again. So
because of the compact and so much energy in one little place and so hot, they burn like incredibly hot too, as well, right? It's not like a gas fire or, diesel, which does not burn very hot.
Yeah, it was crazy. They say typically they would want to put sand over this type of fire to extinguish it.
Yeah.
However, they can't do that in this case because the semis are so big. So they're spraying as much water as they can to cool down the vehicles. And around 50 firefighters responded to that one.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
So here's the difference, right? In a gas-powered vehicle, it burns up to about 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, which isn't cool by any means.
Right.
It's extremely hot. But when you're looking at a battery fire, it's 2,500 degrees, which is it's like the fire, like they say, it presents a whole new type of fire that now they have to deal with. And potentially any location is also the issue, right? If this was an industrial type of thing, they would know that here's the potential and they could plan for that potential, et cetera, right? This literally could be anywhere now, and becoming more and more likely that it will be anywhere now. Although they're small, it's the damage to everything around it that is much, much worse than, like, a car vehicle. Sweden had 23 fires, I think it was, last year, 700,000 vehicles. Not a big deal, right? Except for the damage that can be caused outside of that vehicle around it, right? I'm not charging one in my car or in my garage.
In your garage. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because if it does go up, your house is going up for sure.
For sure. Yeah, for sure it is. Because it's not like it catches fire and smolders or whatever. And here's the thing. When you start talking about spontaneously catching fire, okay, the EV is much more likely for that to happen than a gas car. If you're in an accident, the worst is a hybrid, right? A hybrid gas electric car is like the most likely to catch on fire in an accident, then gas powered, then an EV, right? But just spontaneously starting on fire, that almost never happens in a combustion engine type of car. It just doesn't.
Right. Yep.
In this case, it was a coolant leak, right?
Yeah. In the case of Nikola, they found out, they thought at first it was espionage, but he later found out that it was a coolant leak that was dripping, and it caused it to ignite. And then, of course, those fires burn extremely hot and they go up fast. It went to multiple trucks after that. I was going to say, my wife was in Orlando airport one time and they shut the entire airport down. The alarms are going off and everything. There was a lithium-ion battery laptop fire is what it ended up being.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But they said, okay, everybody out, you got to get that contained somehow.
Yeah, because I mean, that might be a small one, but it's the same issue. You just doesn't go out, and it's extremely, you're not going to pick up your laptop and throw it in the sink.
No. Right. And most people don't carry around 55 pounds of sand in their pocket either. So that methodology is not going to work either.
Well, you could have like sandboxes, like you have the runaway ramps on the highways. You could have like throughout the airport, like a sandbox. If you spontaneously combust, just throw it in here. It'll be okay.
Right. There's your lithium-ion sandbox over there. Throw it in there. Oh man.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, no, they're not spontaneously combusting all over the world, but it is a dangerous situation that people are seeing. And it's it was a coolant leak that did it, so they can go through and hopefully fix that. And hopefully we learn some things, and maybe some safety regulations come out of this. I mean, does that occur when you find something like this? I mean, I wonder if anybody knows out there, how likely it is that when you find something like this, that it now becomes a regulation on manufacturing, like you have all these different regulations and permitting and stuff like that. You have to have your house inspected at different stages for plumbing, for electricity, and that type of stuff. Will this produce something that'll say, okay, you cannot build an EV in this manner because if a leak happens, we got issues, right?
Right.
I wonder.
Yep. So if it becomes a big enough problem, the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, will be involved. If you start seeing houses catch on fire, right? They'll say, okay, if you have one of these and you're going to do this in a garage, you need to have a cap over it, something containment of some sort, you know. So they'll get involved if it gets bad enough, you know.
Have a water system that will completely fill your garage with water, watertight garage, fireproof box, like a safe type of thing. I don't know. That's a little overkill. The chances of it happening are so small. But then if they do, you're in big trouble. I think you're in worse danger from a lot of other things besides that, right?
Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
I think vending machines kill like more people than EV fires.
Yeah. And it's interesting. There are people that I know that just will not get on an airplane.
Yeah, sure.
And an airplane, statistically speaking, is much safer than hopping in your car. Much.
Well, yeah, no, if you're going on a long trip and you make it to the airport alive, you've now made it through the most dangerous part of the trip.
Right. Exactly. I guess it's something about being 29,000 feet up in the air that makes people.
Yeah, no, it's just a phobia of height and all that other kind of stuff. And I think a lot of it actually has to do with claustrophobia. I have claustrophobia, so I'm not afraid to fly, but I can get uncomfortable sometimes when I'm flying. But that's just bad news for the person next to me, because now we're having a conversation. Doesn't matter what you care about. Because me talking to you is going to keep me from getting claustrophobic. So
yeah. Well, I knew of a guy used to work with that will not be named, but he had to do Xanax and a little bit of alcohol before he would get on a plane. So basically, once he got to the plane, he was ready to pass out.
Well, there you go. I mean, I do that anyways, just not because I'm going to
mix a little Xanax and a little alcohol, and you will be relaxed as you can be.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You will not care. You will not care. You'll be riding the turbulence like it's like nothing.
Like it's an amusement park ride.
That's ridiculous.
Well, as more and more electric vehicles and trucks are introduced into the market, we'll have to follow this, because it's pretty.
Sure. But I mean, it's not like I don't know if you remember back in the day when, the gas tank design came under fire, literally and figuratively, because, I think Pintos were catching on fire or something like that every time you sneezed on the back bumper and stuff like that. And I mean, that's when we used to pour gas from behind into the back bumper behind the license plate, right?
Right.
That's how you fill up a car. Not the best design in the world. So rear ends, you remember those things. We had all those type of issues back then. So design happens. This is nowhere near that type of issue.
Right. Yeah. Design changes will happen, Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking to like a percent, like 1 in 38,000 chance that one of these might happen. So
right.
Not that big of a deal. I mean, it's all 209 of Nikola's. So that's 100%. But I guess you got to look at the stats by brand. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that was a bad one. And, there's been some major league car recalls for dangerous things over the years. You've seen,
Oh, sure. Sure. My buddy's car got the spontaneous acceleration on Audis. I remember that one there.
Yep. Toyota was in a big old mess because of their pedal that got stuck down. Based on a design flaw, and there's been some big ones over the years, but yeah.
This is, it's big because it's 209, but it's a easy fix. It appears to be an easy fix. Their stock obviously took a hit for a hot minute, but this is not any cause to go out and say, hey, here's the Achilles heel of EVs. Forget it. We're not doing these anymore. No, it's just something we have to deal with as we improve and bring on new technologies, right?
Right. Absolutely. So for all
the bigger
of
problem is finding all the lithium. That's the big problem. Is where we're going to get the rest of the lithium to keep making these things and so on, right? That's the issue.
And the infrastructure is not there either.
The infrastructure is not there, right? I mean, I just did a little thing on lithium, just real quick, by the way, on how they do this through evaporation of saline ponds, of brine ponds. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So like there's one in Nevada. It's the only one in the United States that's a evaporation technique. It's like 7 acres and 500, billion gallons of water, something like that, salt water. And they evaporate. It takes like years. And then they get the lithium out of it. Right.
Oh.
So yeah. So now these guys in Boulder, I think it's Boulder, University of Boulder, I think, was it might not have been that, but the university discovered they're using strings. They just use like capillary, like wicking, almost like a tree, right? They just dip it into this brine, and as the water comes up, it starts to evaporate, and the saline or the salt and the lithium crystallizes because they have different solubilities at different places on the string, and they can just mine it right there. So it might take a month to get what you would take 3 years to get out of one of these ponds. You just get out of one of these string factory type of things.
Oh,
which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is.
Instead of digging up the earth and all other kind of stuff, it's an interesting way to do it. So
yeah, from what I've heard about
interesting things.
Lithium mining is you got to go deep to get it.
Yeah.
And a lot of work to get it normally.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, I mean, I think there's like 6 or 7 of these evaporation type operations throughout the world or something like that. Because you had to have like a 7-acre man-made lake and then do all this. Anyway, I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Absolutely. Well, more news to come, I'm sure, on this electric front in various ways. And but that'll do it for our show today. Thanks again for joining me, Michael.
Absolutely. As always. Peace and love, everybody.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody. We'll see you again the next time.